March 2023, our remote viewing team took on a target for Dr. Sala, a leading exopolitics researcher. Their target was the Atlantic Space Arc, a massive ancient UFO resting on the bottom of the ocean. Dormant for centuries, it's now waking up and has caught the attention of multinational teams studying it. What the remote viewers uncovered is nothing short of mind-blowing. This is a debrief you won't want to miss.
The craft, this place has a special energy.
Something lost to time.
An architecture built by design with a message or messages.
People come here to learn history by reading things carved in this wall.
Rather ghostly in nature, like the spirit of the architect was there. Is he still there? It's ancient alien technology.
A dimensional portal.
And there was a strange feel.
Allows the right minds to move, travel, and communicate with other dimensions and spaces. Some of these destinations can move forward and backward in time as well. And some can even go to what we call the afterlife, which freaked me out then. It's both beautiful but also dangerous.
Creepy stuff. I saw a big hairy creature like Bigfoot.
There's your Bigfoot, Edward.
Yeah.
Watch the full video today with our exclusive membership and continue watching if you want to see the viewers' in-between session comments and their overall sentiments.
So the target was essentially an ancient spacecraft lying at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean that's being accessed by these multinational teams that are being sent down there to study it, find out what's going on. And so that I found was intriguing with, I think, virtually all the remote viewers identified some kind of structure. Some mentioned portals, others mentioned kind of like ancient hieroglyphs, and that this was a holy place, very religious. And so that pretty much matched what my source, I used the acronym JP for him, had described.
Yeah, that's a fascinating target. And you said this is coming from a person. He said he's active Army. He's a soldier that was on the ground at this site. Correct.
Yes, that he flew out. He flew out on a craft from an Air Force base in Florida to this platform floating in the Bermuda Triangle. They flew over there on an Osprey, multiple Ospreys actually, and then once they landed on the platform, they went through some kind of elevator shaft down to whatever the depth is. I don't think the Bermuda Triangle is all that deep in that part the world. So they went down through some kind of platform into this ancient spacecraft.
And we're thinking it's of extraterrestrial origin or lost civilization, or what are the thoughts on that?
I believe the kind of consensus was that it was some kind of ancient extraterrestrial spacecraft. They saw sarcophagi in there, and so they thought that these sarcophagi were filled with the bodies of the crew in some kind of stasis.
My starting off point here, which was my anchor through the whole session, was that I was in this underground area that was hollowed out. It was damp. There was echoes in there. It was shadowy, and it was hollow inside. So I'm inside of this structure, very still, but there was some sense of movement in there. It was dark inside there. It was man-made. Felt claustrophobic to me. Felt like a catacomb of some kind. Not a lot of light. There were shadows. Look just like this. This is exactly what I was seeing. So I want to know what am I doing here? And it felt like I was in some kind of a labyrinth or a bunker or something like that. And someone was here or is here. I don't know if they are hiding or just showing me something. I wasn't quite sure what it was all about. So what would they have to show was my question. If they had something to show, what would they show? And I had these ideas, artifacts, personal belongings. There was a sense of an apocalyptic feel there and a sense of hiding out. Several rooms, and it did feel like I was underground. There were these rooms there and stuff like that. And there was something like a puzzle. You have to figure it out. Like the old Masons would use symbology and geometry to point in a direction of this place that I was perceiving here. There was a sense here that a puzzle or riddle system applies like Indiana Jones. So then I wanted to go back to this thing, this sarcophagus here, and with the notions of here lies, you know, they would say, here lies, and here's the stele with all the symbols and all that stuff in there. This is in a room, it's like a catacomb or a mausoleum, felt like too.
Well, just right there, I just wanted to repeat again that the military witness JP saw a number of sarcophagi there, and he presumed that within the sarcophagi there were bodies, but these were bodies of crew, but they could equally as well be the bodies of people that were both, you know, associated with that spacecraft, but maybe leaders in earlier civilizations that made their way to the craft. So I think you know, that motive of kings and royalty and bodies being buried there, that could refer to these sarcophagi.
And then here I am in my initial spot. It's damp and dark. Below, it's moist and it's humid. And there's the symbols on the things and the steles and statues and all that kind of stuff.
The walls of this spacecraft were filled with hieroglyphic and kind of ancient writings that were telling elaborate stories. So it was like this spacecraft had been used many times in the past, and whoever had used it left writings on the walls that told a story. So it's kind of like very similar to kind of like ancient cave art, you know, walking into some ancient cave. But of course, the difference here being that this is a ancient spacecraft, and apparently whoever was in it was able to write on the walls in some way, or tell their story on the walls in different languages.
Gateways, time wheels, stargates. Is this tasking? I forgot about this. Is this tasking about a stargate? I wonder. How could it be a stargate, though, I wonder? A notion could be moving from star to star, main point being our sun, or more likely the starting point or starting point. How could that be possible, though, I wonder? Eruption, a disruption or eruption of the magnetic field of the sun and Earth, creating a type of time wheel in the fabric of time-space. And these were just super generic terms.
That sounds like the time dilation that Dr. Sala
Yeah,
mentioned.
I forgot all about this stuff.
Yeah, the time dilation, the stargates, yeah, those are important elements of what was in that spacecraft.
When you say time dilation, does that mean they were experiencing time differently in terms of they'd think they were down there for X amount of time, and when they'd come up, a different time period had passed on the surface?
Actually, time moved differently down there. Like they said, like when you wave your hand, you would wave your hand, but your hand would kind of like, you would see multiple hands there. And they said it was a cool effect, like the soldiers were just doing that because it was such a cool thing to do. You just wave your hand and you see the hand kind of moving like through, I guess, a kaleidoscope or something.
So I wanted to explore the ancient, Phil. And then this is where I did a time map for myself. So I knew it was in the deep past, eons in the deep past, and I knew it was thousands of years past. So I tried to chart this. I felt that there was a key time around about 5,000 years ago, but I actually felt that the core time of this target was beyond 10,000 years. Felt ancient, and it had a sense of something lost to time. which I asked why it was lost to time, and then I instantly had the visual kind of shape here of a dimensional portal. It felt like it was the doorway or an energy dimensional portal. Then I tried to draw it in a bit more detail here. So yeah, it was almost like, a gateway type thing that you would essentially walk through here. Then
Does the shape? I mean, that's an ovoid, clearly.
yes,
My target talked about a spherical portal that
Okay.
it was like you would walk into it and out of it, but
Yep.
it was a sphere-shaped portal.
Then I had a visual imagery of a doorway, an energy portal doorway, with this circular energy thing. And it felt like it was a natural stone structure with symbols around it. But it was definitely a doorway, and it had a light and energy source. And it had an old ancient feel to it, but also a spiritual kind of energy feel to it here as well. And this energy source or doorway would be, I'm going to make this bigger if I can here. Yeah. This is another visual imagery I had. So you would go in one end here, and then you would move, and come out the other end, and they could do the same. So it was like a wormhole time portal feeling to this. And it was like two connected gateways or two connected energy sensors.
Right.
So I asked where the portal led to, and I had this almost like a star map here. And what it reminded me of, actually, in my head, was the Betty and Barney. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Betty and Barney Hills star map.
Yeah.
And I wrote here, at the bottom, so many places on this, so it led to all these different destinations.
This was described as a network, that this spacecraft was connected to others, similar craft throughout our solar system, and they all were part of a kind of network of portals. And it's very interesting that they could travel back and forth, and it's not clear as to who's actually using this network now. I mean, even now, militaries, national militaries are cooperating to kind of like explore these things, but there could be others using these things. And
Right.
In what you were saying, Daz, it seemed that there were kind of some ancients using these things.
Looking at the land, peaked, structures here. It felt like it was tropical at some point, but then again, I get the sense that climate change, there was a major change in the climate, and now it's different. And I see what looked like something that's more man-made or, not natural in the land there. So it feels hidden. Yeah, something hidden there in the land, under the land there.
Well, I wanted to kind of like point out there that one of the other missions that JP has been on is he's seen these kind of like giant dome-like cities very close to the arc. So, and they're hidden underwater, but at some point when all of that land was above water, they would have been flourishing cities, kind of like that Atlantean connection.
Here's the hieroglyphic type
Nice.
thingy here.
Yeah.
I see an arch shape, and it's like carved, like a lost artifact or relic buried in time, like ties to Greek mythology or the Titans, or Titus or the Titans would talk about something like this. It's associated with that. If Alexander the Great, if this was in Alexander the Great's time, like he would want this thing. It's one of those types of lost relics. Yeah. Runic symbols on there. Something carved in there.
There's different chambers with different artifacts and human remains. Could be like a tomb. Okay, now I'm looking at inscriptions on a wall that tell an old story that's coded like hieroglyphics. Muffled, echoey sounds, smells slightly damp, carved long ago, an intricate story, a message to the future. And I see a wall of inscriptions like a library book. People come here to learn history by reading things carved in this wall. This place has a special energy. Needs to be decoded. It's a sacred place for the learned. This is a sacred place, a power spot, a vein into the heart of Mother Earth. There may be beings that live underground. This is a portal.
And you saw all the writing on the wall, and that writing or the hieroglyphs on the wall is tells these stories, and that they're trying to interpret those stories because that has the history of our planet.
Yeah, I figured out that that's an ancient history. It's been written down. It's kept there like a record. Get a little high level here. A man inside a place with inscriptions or etchings in a wall. So this guy's looking at an opening and he goes through it. This guy has witnessed something that kind of traumatized him, and people don't believe him when he talks about it. Does that look like your guy, Dr. Sala?
Well, he has no hair. He's he's kind of like 30, mid-30s, and no hair.
Yeah. Some people don't believe him.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Now I see this big structure, right? Like a large craft, and beings come out. It looked kind of like the Close Encounters of the Third Kind final scene.
It's a great scene.
I was going to say that's the shape of the craft that he described, an ovoid shape about the size of 3 aircraft carriers.
Yeah, that's what I saw it. And this is a better look at it. This looks like the final scene of Close Encounters, a craft. And is this underwater?
Correct.
I didn't, I think I drew it underwater, but didn't realize it was underwater. Because it was like, I go, is that sky? It's just blue. I was so taken by the craft, I didn't know I was underwater.
Huh.
There's an opening at the lower part, what appears to be a ramp. Light spills out. Very interesting. I'd ask Dr. Sala, do you believe it? Do you believe the remote viewing? Did we validate what this guy said?
Definitely, yeah. I think all of you brought out kind of key elements of what he described, and the fact that you corroborated those elements and you were in agreement in so many ways. I mean, I take this as vindication that this ark is really there, that there are multinational military teams going down there with archaeologists to study these things, that they're using the portals to travel and explore the network, and that they are kind of like letting this information kind of slowly seep out into the public consciousness.